What's going on, everyone? I'm back with another video. This video is going to be looking at if Eddie Howe was a good choice to take over Newcastle, coming off the news of their club being bought and now the wealthiest club in the world. So let's take a look if Eddie Howe is the right man to keep them in the Premier League this season and then be able to take them to the very top and contend for titles within the next few seasons. But before we get into that, check out both my books. They're online on Amazon and there's links in the description below. Also, check out Efficiency Match, free download in the App Store. And if you want to get the paid version, just say Modern Football Analyst and you'll get a 20% discount. But let's get right into the video. So what I think we'll see from Eddie Howe, a very forward-thinking manager, is a very similar shape to Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea with three at the back to give them solidarity, especially when they're struggling to get points and struggling to get results. So I think they'll go with a back three, at least initially, to give them a clear structure and control the other team when the other team is in possession. This will especially be the case when they're playing a big six opponent or a team that is in form in the Premier League. But then I think what also could be very interesting is the dynamics of how they would line up with a back five or back three, depending on the situation. So now when we look at it, we can see there's a clear overload to one side. Well, they'll have the opportunity to create numerical superiority through one side. And this is why I chose the lineup I did. I put Willock in the middle alongside Shelvey, and this could easily be replaced by Isaac Hayden or some other player. This is just my take on a possession-based manager using possession as a tool to move forward. So we have an overload with Joe Willock on the ball, giving them a little more creativity and a little more forward-thinking player. Then we have Clark, Lascelles, and Kraft, who are the three central defenders who started their last game against Brighton. Then we have Murphy and Matt Ritchie as the wingbacks, with Maximin and Almiron as the two attacking midfielders through the half space, and Callum Wilson. So obviously Callum Wilson knows Eddie Howe quite well from Bournemouth, and they worked very well together. So we should see the best of Callum Wilson again, now hopefully getting into a better and better side. So the biggest thing I think will be finding the players who play between the lines in the half space, whether that's Maximin and Almiron or a different choice of players, and then allowing Maximin to go into a wider area and create isolation with him and a defender. But I think these two players are crucial because when we have the ball, Almiron playing on the right, he's a much better player playing in tight areas while having the pace to make runs in behind. So this numerical superiority on one side would really suit his play with the overload of the two central defenders, also aiding and creating more passing options into Almiron. But now we can see on the weak side, especially after a switch of play, the space that's afforded to St. Maximin and Almiron, a vacated space in the wide area, allowing Maximin to use his pace, making interior runs through the half space and in behind. So then we can also see the interesting dynamic if they want to change structure and get into the rotation of the team. If we want to get Almiron on the ball, we could see Maximin making inverted runs and the ball being played to this right-hand side. So now when the defense shifts, the back four is pinned, and we have this numerical superiority with our free player targeting around Almiron to then get on the space between the lines. And this is all possession-based progression, where we're using possession to then progress up the field, which is how Eddie Howe likes to operate. So now we'll reset the players and look at their midfield third tactics. So now it's a very similar approach to Chelsea because I think the back three and the double pivot gives you good solidity when you're in possession and gives you control when you're out of possession. Also creates a lot of diagonal press-resistant triangles, and you can manipulate the width of your wide central defenders to give you different avenues to progress the ball. Then with Joe Willock, we also have the ability to then go to a single pivot and overload the space between the lines. But like I said, this could be Isaac Hayden, or Eddie Howe might have his own take on who should play these roles. Eddie Howe is also known to going with a 4-2-3-1 and playing quite expansive, with possession being their main source of progression, but I don't see this being the case for this new season with a struggling team like Newcastle. So number one priority would be survival, and then number two would then be creating a philosophy for a long-term project. So that's the only reason why I'm a little skeptical on why Eddie Howe was the right man for the job, because in a relegation battle in the Premier League, I'm not sure Eddie Howe is the right man to then grind out points, get results with less of the ball, playing on the counter, and controlling the game in a defensive phase. But Eddie Howe long term, if they stay up, I think he'll be a great choice and get the most out of the players they have, as well as bring in the right players to then progress this club further forward. But now we can get into tactics with Callum Wilson, his ability to hold the ball up quite well. So we might even see more third man movements from Callum Wilson, trying to then look to get Maximin on the ball, or St. Maximin could vacate the space, play into Callum Wilson, and then now the two defenders are pinned, or we can then create space through the wide area. So if the defense was shifted, over compact, Wilson on the ball, especially when Maximin goes, maybe the defender stays and now a midfielder comes on the back of Callum Wilson. He holds the ball up. He'll have adequate support from the double pivot to then potentially create a third man movement and target the weak side through Almiron or Murphy overlapping as the wing back. But these entry passes into Callum Wilson, I think, will be a very big part of this new Newcastle's team, and playing with his back to goal, utilizing his ability to hold the ball up as a third man player, as the entry pass in between the lines, where he can then be more mobile and drop back deeper between the lines in the blind spot of the defenders of the other team, but also playing in this role primarily through the central corridor or entering the half space will give him better access to make runs into the box and get on the end of cutbacks and crosses. And then with the double pivot behind him, they have more control when they do enter the final third with a 5-man rest defense opposed to a 4-2-3-1 where it can be a bit overstretched at times. So that's going to wrap up the analysis. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with the selection of Eddie Howe? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.